Princess Caraboo is a 1994 American historical comedy drama film co-written, with John Wells, and directed by Michael Austen, based on the real-life 19th-century character Princess Caraboo, who passed herself off in British society as an exotic princess who spoke a strange foreign language. She is portrayed by Phoebe Cates. This film was Cates' final major film appearance before she retired from acting. Citation needed. Plot. In Regency England, an exotically dressed woman is found in the fields, speaking a language no one can understand. She ends up at the home of the Worrell family, the local gentry. Their Greek butler, Frisios, thinks the woman is a fraud from the start. Mr. Worrell sends her to the magistrate to be tried for vagrancy, but Mrs. Worrell agrees to care for her. Mr. Gooch, a local printer and newspaper reporter, takes an interest in the case, especially after the woman claims via mime to be Princess Caraboo. Gooch talks to the farm workers who found her and learns she had a book from the Magdalen Hospital in London on her. When the Worrells leave on a trip, the servants inspect her for a tattoo, which they believe all natives of the South Seas have, and are shocked to find Princess Caraboo has one on her thigh. Frisios tells Gooch he now thinks she's a genuine princess. Mr. Worrell uses her presence to recruit investors for the spice trade, which will be facilitated by Princess Caraboo when she returns to her native land. Gooch brings in Professor Wilkinson, a linguist who is initially dismissive of Caraboo's story but has enough doubt to refuse to say she is a fraud. The local society finds Princess Caraboo fascinating and they flock to attend parties and soirees with her. Mr. Gooch begins investigating people connected with the Magdalen house. Lady Apthorpe takes Caraboo to a ball held for the Prince Regent, who is fascinated by Caraboo. Gooch learns Caraboo is actually Mary Baker, who worked as a servant for Mrs. Peake. Gooch sneaks into the ball to warn her she's been found out, but she refuses to acknowledge what he tells her. Mrs. Peake comes and confronts Caraboo and identifies her as Mary Baker. She is locked up. The local magistrate and Mr. Worrell want to hang her. Mrs. Worrell gives Mr. Gooch documents implicating her husband and the magistrate in a bank fraud. Mr. Gooch uses these to work a trade. He will bury the story if Mary Baker can go to America. Gooch, who has fallen in love with Mary, leaves with her for the United States. Cast: Phoebe Cates as Princess Caraboo, Jim Broadbent as Mr. Worrell, Wendy Hughes as Mrs. Worrell, Kevin Kline as Frisios, John Lithgow as Professor Wilkinson, Stephen Rea as Gooch, Peter Eyre as Lord Apthorpe, Jacqueline Pierce as Lady Apthorpe, John Wells as Reverend Wells, John Lynch as Amon McCarthy, John Sessions as Prince Regent, Archie Whiteley as Betty, Jerry Hall as Lady Motley, Anna Chancellor as Mrs. Peake. Reception: Princess Caraboo received mixed reviews. It holds a rating of 63% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 16 reviews.